Welcome to the podcast series of International College for Legal Studies called The Global Classroom, where we explore the intersections of international education and training and local impact. Today, we have the distinct honor and pleasure of speaking with Patricia McKellar, the esteemed Dean of University of London Undergraduate Laws Programme, to discuss the University of London's LLB program and its significant footprint in Pakistan. Patricia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
To begin, could you briefly introduce yourself and your role at University of London, particularly in relation to global reach of your program?
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Patricia McKellar and I'm the Dean at the University of London. My legal career started in Scotland, where I have my degree, and those of you who will hear my accent will know that's where I'm from. I worked for 10 years in private practice in Scotland doing civil and criminal litigation. I moved from Scotland and I have been involved in legal education in universities since then, most recently University of Warwick and then subsequently University of London, where I've been for the last 15 years. I've been the Dean there for the last 3 years and I'm very proud to lead the programme. It is a programme which, as you say, has significant global reach. We have 14,000 students all over the world. Over 50% of those students come from Pakistan. And that is a real testament to the hunger for education that I find wherever I go in Pakistan. I meet young people here who really want to learn, they really want to gain qualifications, they really want to have a career, in my case, in the law. And I think our degree is very well placed to set them on that path, on that career path.
Thank you so much. And we've seen it even at our institution as well. And law is a very popular program with the students, and they're very eager to learn more about it. Now, when we talk about University of London, its LLB has a long history, I think back to the 1890s, and is often referred to as the gold standard. And we often use this term in legal education. Pakistan, as we've discussed, has a significant number of students pursuing this degree. What, in your view, makes this degree so appealing to the students? Is it the flexibility? Is it the international recognition? Or is it something else?
You're right, Sarah, when you say that our degree programme started in the 1890s. Indeed, the university is even older than that. It started in 1835. And our degree, first law degree, to be offered to students out with London. So our degree is now 125 years old. So any student who's doing our degree is really taking part in a bit of history. We have a strong legacy of delivering legal education globally for that period of time. Now, in terms of what makes us stand out, I think one of the key things would be the academic quality of the degree. Our degree has academic direction from 6 law colleges, the 6 original law colleges of the University of London. Now, these are University College London, King's College London, the London School of Economics, SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies, Birkbeck and Queen Mary University of London. Now, these are all institutions, highly prestigious institutions in their own right. And some of the law schools in those institutions rank very highly globally, not just within the UK, but globally. We've got very strong academic direction on the programme. We deliver the programme in many common law jurisdictions throughout the world, and it is globally recognised and globally respected in those jurisdictions. So much so that our degree is recognised as entry to the legal profession in many of those countries, as it is, of course, as you know, it is here in Pakistan as well. And we have many students who have gone through the programme here in Pakistan and who are practising in Pakistan at this time. Quality of the programme is important. But I think I would also point to the rigorous assessment regime that we have within University of London. I think this is something, that scrutiny, that robustness of the assessment process, I think that's something which is valued both by employers and by the regulatory bodies in the countries that we operate in. So I think that's another key area which both students and employers really recognise and welcome our programme.
So I see you talking about quality of education. There's this term that University of London uses, Recognized Teaching Centre. ICLS is very proud to be a recognized teaching centre. But I think for the audience to understand what exactly a recognized teaching centre means and what role do institutions like ICLS play in delivering the world-class education that University of London talks about and the standard it needs to maintain.
Yes, your ICLS, of course, is a recognised teaching centre, you're right. And actually, that is quite an achievement in itself, as you're aware. In order to become a recognised teaching centre of the University of London, you have to go through a significant process. There's lots of paperwork, lots of meetings, lots of processes which you have to go through. But when you finally achieve it, I think it is a really wonderful achievement, and well done for achieving it. We have quite a number of RTCs, as you know, around the world and indeed in Pakistan. And what the RTCs do is effectively they kind of add value to our programme, and where they run in a kind of complementary way to the way that we deliver. We have a whole wealth of resources, as you're aware, a whole wealth of resources on our virtual learning environment. But what we don't have in some respects is that kind of direct contact with the student, that face-to-face contact with the student. And I think this is where the RTCs come into their own, because they have that direct contact through lectures, through seminars. They're able to provide all that additional support to students, which is so valuable when they're coming up to their exams. They're also able to provide that kind of extracurricular support as well, which again is very important to create a kind of rounded graduate at the end of the day. And they also have a whole range of extracurricular legal activities as well, perhaps in the form of mooting, or say debates, taking students to the Supreme Court. I know in Pakistan there are many RTCs now who have a legal clinic. And that, of course, is extremely important when trying to learn the practical skills that a lawyer will require when they're going out into their careers. So all of these things really add value to the programme and are very expertly delivered by the RTCs.
Thank you, Patricia. Now, because you're talking about legal clinics and moots, it brings me to another question. This degree is a common law-based degree, but we do know in Pakistan there's the local context, there is the Sharia law, and there are obviously local principles and practical legal knowledge that sometimes we feel might be missing from this degree. Is there anything that University of London does, especially keeping LawGAT and the CE equivalence exam in mind, to support its students, either directly or through the local institutions?
Yes, I think I'll kind of take your question back just a little bit and just say to you, first of all, there is a huge breadth to our degree, okay? And so although it's an English law degree, it does encompass a number of international law modules. So it has a global reach within the modules. We also have, for instance, a module on Islamic law as well. So that certainly is very important, I think, in a country like Pakistan. Now, we this year we have also been creating and authoring what we call a micro-credential.
Interesting.
Because these micro-credentials are short courses which can be taken at any time throughout the degree. They're taken independently of tuition as such from either ourselves or yourselves. The student can do these micro-credentials by themselves over maybe about 5 or 6 week period. They're given all the resources. They're given short lectures, they're given some activities, and they're given an assessment at the end. So it's a kind of almost like a little separate qualification.
In addition
university.
to the degree that they're doing.
This is exactly right. It runs alongside the degree. They can do it at any time. Now, what we've done is we've created one which will prepare the students for their entry exam for the bar in Pakistan.
That's an amazing step. It
is. It is actually a big departure for us in that we do not provide local content for any other country, but we feel in Pakistan this will be a really useful addition for our students here, and it's something which will allow them to prepare for the exam and to prepare for the assessment, because the assessment will be in the same format as they would have for the exams they'll sit for the bar exam. So they can do this as often. They can do it as often as they like, and just to test themselves and do that. But the really other addition to this, of course, is they'll get a certificate from the University of London to say that they've done that test. Now, of course, they still have to do the exam, the bar exam. It's not going to exempt them from that, but it will certainly go some way to prepare them for that and also give them that additional certificate, which will help them.
So is this something only the current students can do, or is it something which will be available to the graduates as well?
At the moment, when we're creating this for our current students,
Okay.
but we are aware that we have some graduates who've just recently
Yes.
graduated, and it would be useful if we can find a way of accommodating them as well. There are certain, I'm going to put it this way, technical difficulties. Technical difficulties, because needless to say, our students just now have protected resources, and it makes it a little more difficult for us to give resources to students who are not within that protected environment. But let me say, it's something we're considering, seeing what we can do.
No, but this is an excellent step, because I think institutions are also involved. Our local bar councils are involved in preparing the students. But when it comes from University of London, especially with a certificate, I think this goes a long way. I've seen institutions, I mean, ICLS for one, and other institutions as well. They also are providing practical legal training. There are different workshops. There's mooting going on. How far do you think involvement of the local institute in providing this training, such as practical legal training, and also mooting, is advantageous or beneficial for the students who are studying for University of London degree?
This goes back to a little bit what I said earlier about the mooting and the skills that the students acquire when they're doing that process. And I think, again, I'm going to take your question back a little bit to our actual degree programme itself and talk a little bit about the skills the students acquire when they're going through the programme, because, as you know well, it's not enough to learn the content.
True.
You have to be able to apply that content, and you have to be able to analyse it, you have to be able to filter, you have to be able to manipulate it, and there are lots of skills which you require to actually go out into practice. It's not just enough to say, I know all the statutes and all the cases. You have to be able to use them.
Right.
And the only way that you can use these is as you're going through your degree programme, or even in addition to your degree programme, you're also practising these skills of analysis, skills of judgment, skills of evaluation, skills of problem solving. And all these skills are skills which are embedded within the modules which we deliver. And students will practice those skills within the modules. Now, I think what happens with the RTCs in the moots and the debates and the law clinics is they take that one step further. They can actually get the students to practice those skills in a real life environment like that. And that's what I think is really valuable for the types of activities which you're doing there, is really pushing those skills forward. Now, indeed, we see a huge value in those skills as well. And in fact, I was talking about micro-credentials earlier, and we are developing more micro-credentials for professional legal skills. We have one at the moment which is based on mediation skills.
Okay,
that's a very interesting, very useful skill.
A very new field for Pakistan at the moment.
A very new field, but as you know yourself, a very important field in Pakistan.
Definitely.
And indeed, we've just introduced a new module on alternative dispute resolution, very much in that mode. But this particular micro-credential will cover mediation skills, and again, will give the students a certificate. They don't have to do it; it's entirely optional, but it's there. And we're developing other micro-credentials for legal writing skills, legal drafting skills, client interviewing skills. We have some resources like presentation skills on the VLE, but we're developing these specific micro-credentials, which again will give the student another certificate, another qualification. And I think these are the kinds of things which employers are looking for.
Definitely.
They're looking for, when you come, it's not just, have you got the law degree? What other skills have you got? How can you prove, how can you show us that those skills have been certificated?
You're basically more practice ready.
Exactly.
You have all those skills. So I think it's a great initiative that University of London is doing, especially incorporating Pakistani law as well, but also the practical legal aspect, because we generally feel that is missing. So I think that's a great step. I'm going to take you a little bit off from the topic that we are currently discussing and talk about something different, but also very important, and that is about scholarships and the University of London fee. I know it is a foreign degree program, fees are generally high, but what initiatives are there in place, or what incentives or scholarships? Is there something in place for the students to be able to, either an award or a scholarship which is there in place?
Yes, that's an interesting question, Sarah, and I appreciate that our fee, perhaps on a global basis in some countries, including Pakistan, will be seen as being, a higher fee than perhaps local provision. But what I would say, first of all, is in comparison to an international student attending a University of London college, it is significantly lower. And obviously, a student being able to study in Pakistan means they don't have those living expenses fees, those travelling costs. So it is, I believe it is a degree which is very good value for the money which students have to pay. But I take your question as what assistance is there? And actually, the way we have done it within the programme at the moment is that we're actually offering assistance to students who do well on the programme. Now, they have to do very well on the programme, but we have an award now for students who at the end of their first year, we talk about the level 4 modules. There's 4 modules student studies in at the beginning, 4 level 4 modules. And if students do very, very well in those modules, and we have a set of criteria which all your students will be aware of and you'll be able to tell them as well. But just for this purpose, we can assume that our criteria. For those students, we will give them remission for some of the modules in their future years. So it's an incentive for a student to do really well. They have to do really well, and there's not a huge number of these awards, but they are there. So that's one aspect. The other one, this year, we've introduced an essay competition. Again, there are criteria for entry for that competition, but it's open to a lot of students. And the essay competition, this year it's on, I think it's internationalisation and mediation, I think is what the topic's going to be. It's starting in a week's time. And there will be a cash prize for that, a monetary equivalent prize. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but anyway, it's an incentive for students to do well. And in that kind of thing, of course, that will be very good for them, because if they can do well in the essay competition, that's a great thing for your CV. But I think for that, there are 3 prizes. So it's not very many. And if you just think of the number of students we have, then it's a small number. But, it's a great incentive. It's an incentive, exactly.
For students will perform well as well. And if I remember from not very far long ago, you also had a need-based scholarship for COVID in the COVID time. I think it was.
That's right. And actually, you're absolutely right, Sarah. I should say there is a hardship fund.
Yes.
There is a hardship fund for students. So if students are on the programme and they discover that they have come across a really difficult issue in their lives, then there is an application that they can apply for there for the hardship fund.
So
that's
I think
right. that's a university thing rather than laws.
But it is being given by University of London, and we're also focusing on the performance. So I think both the things are being catered for. So it provides opportunity for students. You just talked about Pakistan being a large market for University of London LLB program, and I'm sure a lot of alumni are from Pakistan. And you might know, or you might be able to think of maybe some success stories, or will be useful to share with the prospective students, so they're able to see how well they've been performing now, and where they can be placed as well. So if you have something in mind.
Yes. Well, we have many graduates obviously in Pakistan, and we do have many graduates who have performed extremely well and who are in top legal firms at the moment and doing extremely well in those firms. But we also have legal graduates who are in very high positions, perhaps in federal ministers, who are involved with the Pakistan Bar Council. We have, as I say, very many top legal firms, but we also have graduates who are in other professions as well, in other areas. For instance, one springs to mind, Ayla Majid, who is the president of the ACCA, and she was voted in by 120,000 members of them globally. This is globally. This is not just in Pakistan, globally. And she, as I say, she's the first woman from Southeast Asia to hold that position. So that's a very, very real example of someone who's done very well, perhaps not necessarily in a legal field, but in another field. But we also have high-profile graduates, even in the media. But our graduates will range across a whole lot of professions. It's not just within the legal profession as well. So, and I think that's important for students to realise, that although you have a law degree, that will open a whole range of doors for you. And our degree will, as I say, propel students into those, as I say, either into a legal environment, but into other legal environments as well. And it's those skills we talked about earlier, which students have acquired as they go through the programme, what helps them to be transferable across a range of careers as well as within the law.
Thank you so much. So I understand it opens doors and it increases scope of employability, essentially, this degree, and we've seen as well, even when we're talking about our graduates, that people are in foreign service as well. I think I've seen one example,
Yes.
and in politics, in law firms. So I think that's a great thing. Finally, Patricia, I will not take much of your time. What message would you like to convey to our prospective students who are starting their journey and are enrolling in institutions like ICLS, who want to study for the University of London LLB program?
Yes. Well, I think I think I've said enough about the programme itself to note for students to know that I certainly believe in the programme. And I think students who are starting off on their studies for the University of London, I think there's two things I think I would say. The first is that students should really get onto their studies right at the beginning. What we find is that students will go through, they start off, they're very enthusiastic, but they perhaps will lapse. Other things come into their lives, they're busy doing other commitments that they have in their lives, and not realising that actually you really have to focus on this programme. It's not one where you can come to it in February, March and say, oh, I'll just pick it up then before the exams. So what I would say is, for students starting off the programme, start at the beginning, keep going, keep on your studies, don't drift off and come back at a later stage. We do find students, who start off and they don't really start work until the January, February, and that's too late. You really have to start at the beginning. So that's the first thing I'd say to
consistent
the
efforts.
That consistent effort, exactly. The second thing I would say to students that's important is wider reading. We give students a structure, a basis. We give them a lot of reading, but quite often students say to us, as they're coming up to their exams, how can I get a better score? How can I get a 2-1 or 2-2? How can I move up the score from where I am? And the way to do that is through wider reading and be able to show that evidence to the examiner that you haven't just learned the basics, you've actually gone beyond that and you have a wider knowledge.
And all of that is available
absolutely, it's all available. We give the students further reading. We also give them essential readings actually on the VLE. We give them those kind of excerpts from books and things like that. And the students really have to read those, critique them, analyse them, be able to formulate arguments using those resources. They have to be able to do that in order to improve their answers in the exams. And sometimes they only really realise that after they've sat their first set of exams.
And it's too late.
So that's why I say to them at the beginning, that's really what you really have to be focusing on at that stage.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for taking out so much time. And I think it has been, must be a real eye-opening thing for the prospective students, and very beneficial for parents as well, who want to get their children involved and want to get to know more about the University of London LLB degree. And thank you so much to the audience. We wish them all the best for their legal journey.
Thank you.